The world's 2,000 plus billionaires have more wealth than 4.6 billion people combined. This wealth inequality is all the more obvious in the garment sector, where a privileged few amass vast wealth while millions are trapped in poverty. There are clothing brand CEOs who take home massive compensation packages and shareholders who profit while the women making the clothes are kept in poverty. This needs to change.
I used to assume that if I was paying more for clothing, it was better, not just better quality, but the brand was more sustainable or more ethical. And I'll never make that mistake again.
Canada is one of the world's major apparel markets, with retail sales totaling $24 billion in 2019, and with most clothes being imported, while Bangladesh is the second largest supply country for clothing in Canada. But when COVID-19 first hit, the demand for clothes quickly plummeted, resulting in Canadian fashion brands canceling clothing orders already complete or in process. While this did mean even harder times for garment workers, many Canadian brands were able to bounce back quickly from pandemic misfortunes. Now, we know that Canadian fashion brands buy apparel assembled by factories overseas, and with no shortage of factories, it's a total buyer's market. Canadian fashion brands have the upper hand as they have the option to change factories and take their business somewhere else. Or they could also take action.
But at the end of the day, as COVID really highlighted, that they really prioritize profit over people.
But how did we get there? Well, one could say it's the result of a rigged and broken business model. You see, to secure work from international fashion brands, governments raced to the bottom on wages. This meant trying to attract foreign companies by suppressing wages and keeping them low. Now, with the rise of fast fashion, countries pitted against each other, as did the suppliers. And as companies prioritize maximizing profits, they're buying into this race to the bottom, with the workforce paying the price. As a result, the legal minimum wage is less than half of what people really need to live.
Our colleagues in Australia who started the What She Makes campaign conducted research and found that brands can pay a living wage in their supply chain.
There are two ways to cover the cost of paying a living wage. First, a retailer could pass the cost onto the customer by increasing the price of a piece of clothing. Research shows that doing this would increase the price of a piece of clothing by just 3 to 4%. That's about 30 to 40 cents extra for a $10 t-shirt. But there's a second option. Canadian fashion brands could fully absorb the costs within their supply chain, costing them on average less than 1% of the garment's retail price. Change is possible.
All we're asking of brands is to make a public commitment to pay a living wage in their supply chain, to be transparent about their sourcing practices and where their clothes are being made, and within 1 year of making a commitment to pay a living wage, to publish their plans on how they're going to do it in their own supply chain.
By not paying a living wage in their supply chain, Canadian fashion brands are keeping the women who make our clothes in poverty. But this can change. Workers, activists, unions, and consumers are all holding Canadian fashion brands accountable by exposing the truth. Let's stand up for the human rights of the women who make our clothes. Let's make a living wage fashionable.